This video contains spoilers for Canto 7, the dream ending, as well as a little bit of Murder on the Warp Express. Canto 7. It's my favorite canto of all of Limbus Company. It rewired my brain chemistry to an unimaginable degree, and therefore I have been overanalyzing every aspect of it for the past several months, and one of those aspects is the character design of the Manchegan Bloodfiend family. I already made a post about this on my Tumblr, so this video may be considered a slightly more coherent and detailed version of it. Now, to preface, I am not a professional. I have no credentials in character design. I'm just a hobbyist who likes to make art and has designed a lot of characters of her own. This is all done in good fun. Do not take my analysis as gospel. Additionally, I will not be looking at the character designs through a historical lens, since in my opinion they are not meant to connect to any particular era. The clothes Manchegan Bloodfiends wear are either carnival costumes or fairy tale-esque garb, more meant to be evocative of an idea of a ye-olden outfit rather than directly modeling itself after one. The city has a different history to ours anyhow, so yeah, I will not be comparing them to actual historical clothes. Alright, let's begin with our lovable patriarch. Getting this out of the way immediately. His design was fairly likely inspired by Dracula from the Castlevania games, particularly Symphony of the Night. Both of them are white-haired aristocratic Bishonans, both have something draped over their shoulders, both have some kind of big coat, both have long boots, etc. A lot of similarities to be found here. But despite all that, Don Quixote of La Mancha Land is different enough to make his design unique from his inspiration. And one of those things is his color scheme. He does not have much bright color on him, aside from a tiny red gem on his necklace and his bright red eyes, making you look up at them whenever they widen in whimsy, becoming the focal point of his face. The rest of his colors are washed out, as if these clothes have been with him for centuries and had long lost their vibrancy, or that they are covered in a layer of dust from him sitting in a castle doing nothing for a long while. Even the gold he wears is a dirty pale color, as if not polished for a very long time. Now, if you look away from the colors and look at his silhouette, which is what we see him as the first time he appears on screen, I think it does a good job of signaling his authority as the first kindred, and most of it can be attributed to his coat. It's big, widening his silhouette and making him seem generally larger, similarly to what his inspiration's cape is meant to do. Plus, he has the gold shoulder pads, reminiscent of ones a war general would have, also adding to this air of authority. Yet, if you look at it long enough, you may notice it lends him an air of incompetence. He only ever wears it as a cape due to it being way too big for him to wear normally. Were he to put his arms through the sleeves, they'd flop around in a ridiculous fashion. It almost makes him look akin to a child playing pretend with their parents' clothes. This dichotomy shows both his status and his lack of proper responsibility that has to come with it. That, on top of everything else, makes him look almost sloppy, yet managing to maintain presentability, which makes sense for Don Quixote. Also, the symbol he wears is definitely some kind of family crest for the Manchegan Bloodfiends, as it is visible on the canopies in the certain castle throne room. Okay, you know how I said this is just about the Manchegan family? I lied! Bari and Sanson serve a similar role in the story of the rise and fall of La Mancha Land, despite being polar opposites in goals, so them having a similar main color makes sense. However, their blues are different shades from each other, showing that they are not connected directly, more so narratively rather than being part of the same faction. And while Sanson is meant to be dressed more similarly to the Bloodfiend trio, his mask even being a combination of theirs, Bari's design parallels Father Quixote's, making it clear where their allegiances lie. One creates and perpetuates the father's dream, the other works with his children to end it. Now, you may say, you see how Sanson is similar to the Bloodfiend trio, but how is Bari paralleling Father Quixote? Well, they have opposing main colors, blue and red. Bari's hair is longer in the front, shorter in the back, while Father has the opposite thing going on. Plus, Bari is more sci-fi, like usual denizens of the city, while Father is fairy tale-esque. But both wear oversized coats and have some kind of big metal thing on their neck as a focal point, making their silhouettes quite similar. Yeah, I just thought to bring that up. Also, I think Bari and Don Quixote should kiss about. To enter with the father, let's get to the children. And who to talk about first than the dear overseer of Zone 1. Pretty and wonderful, the barber, Nicolina. Her silhouette is enlarged by her massive pair of scissors that she always carries around, but did you know that her body itself is meant to resemble a pair of scissors too? Her drill tails form the shape of handles, and the skirt and legs make the shape of blades. The scissor-shaped necklace is just adding fuel to the fire here. She has a theme going on, can you tell? She's the barber of La Mancha land, and she wants you to be aware of that. Now on to the rest of her. She has a very standard vampire color scheme. Her dark hair, red dress, and pale skin are all standard issue. Though it shouldn't go unnoticed that her main color is also the color assigned to her wrath affinity, which can be linked to her being the most outwardly hostile towards the LCB out of all of the Bloodfiend trio during Canto 7. Now, the way she presents herself is very, as she loves to say, flamboyant. She's the only one of the family to be wearing makeup this bold, same with her nails being painted red and being really sharp, and her hair having streaks of presumably dyed in red in it. Definitely done more so for self-expression rather than anything else, as she really does not have to do this kind of thing, unlike for example Dulcinea, who has to look pretty all the time. She also shows quite a bit of skin, and since she made her own outfit, that is of her own volition, and is actually done for a pretty good reason. It is made to suit her own needs, and aside from just looking really pretty, it allows her for a lot of mobility. With her weapon being this gaudy, her legs would require quite a bit of movement to maintain balance as she fights with it, so her making these big slits in the skirt actually makes a lot of sense. It allows a lot of freedom of movement in her lower half. Same thing with the top part. The top part of the dress being really open allows her to freely move her arms, which lets her do all of those funky spinny moves with her scissors without being worried about the fabric ripping. It also would allow just for her to run around a lot easier. It's both self-expression and practicality is what I'm trying to tell you. Oh yeah, and her mask. Plague Doctor-esque, fitting for a barber, as in ye olden days barbers were not just there to cut your hair, but to perform minor surgical procedures too, like ripping out teeth or, I don't know, balancing humors. Like bloodletting. It is also the most gaudy out of all of the masks, not only covering her face but poking outwards with the massive beak. To me, all about Nicolina's design screams, look at me, which makes sense considering she not only highly values appearances to the point of giving skincare tips during the shooting range narration, which, hello, she seems to be starving for attention, seeing others not recognizing her effort as a personal slight against her. If only her and Sancho just had a proper talk about her having differing clothing preferences. After all, as it seems to me, Nicolina prefers women's wear to men's wear, unlike Sancho does. Speaking of which, moving on to Zone 2, for your mental health, to meet the priest, Kuramra. Now, Kuramra is a lot more plain in his appearance in comparison to the other two members of the Bloodfiend trio, which is reasonable enough considering he'd appear publicly the least out of them all, mostly presenting only before other Bloodfiends in the confessional. Not a lot of color on him either, aside from shades of grey and dusty cyan, which cyan is the color assigned to the gloom affinity, which again tracks with how he behaves during the canto, drowning in his own pain and guilt and feeling that all he deserves is a rightful punishment. Also, he has a little tire on his neck, like a little bow. If you squint hard enough, it kind of looks like an open pair of scissors. So I like to think that he is very vaguely trying to match with his barber sister here, because I think that would be cute. Anyways, his outfit generally resembles an average Catholic priest garb, because, well, he is priest of La Mancha land, but it is only vaguely doing so. He doesn't have the distinct collar that is present in the Catholic priest clothes, for example. But his outfit really does not have to be a one-to-one replica, as long as it serves its role, being his costume in the play that is his father's dream. He also looks the most, obviously undead out of all of them. His skin is paper white with no color to speak of, his hands are wrinkly, his cheeks are sunken, his eyes have eye bags deeper than the Baikal Lake, his ears are a bit sharp for some reason, though with the way they look it almost appears like he chopped them off a bit, and his body proportions are absurd. Why are you like this, Kuramra? It could be that just maybe he got turned at an older age than the rest of the Manchegans, or he was generally more sickly than the rest. Really not sure what's up with that. Oh, and the mask he dons. One resembling a skull of a ram. There is a lot of sheep symbolism in Christianity, associated with sacrificiality to be specific. So, of course, our self-destructive priest would wear a mask representative of that martyrdom.
I have sought thee, sung thee, dreamed thee, Dulcinea.
Welcome to Eternal Carnival, Zone 3, let's talk about the princess. So first things first. Fairly evident that Nicolina made her outfit, right? I mean, Barber Otis basically confirms it, but I don't think you can't infer it from just how it looks. They have a lot of similarities, actually. Like, the frills and pattern details along the ends of them are similar to how they are on the Barber's dress. The skirt is also kind of similar in structure to Nicolina's, vaguely, though Dulcinea's has a different silhouette. It's more puffy and has no slits in it. The way the sleeves end is very similar on both dresses too, though the way it is at the top is different. Her outfit is adorned with flower patterns that are similar to the ones that Nicolina has too, though for Dulcinea they become the focal point of her outfit. Etc, etc. There are more. I just think it's neat. I just think those details are neat. They really show that those two dresses were made by the same person. And her color scheme. Her main color is purple, which, aside from it being associated with royalty, is also the color of the envy affinity. And that fact parallels well with her envy towards Sancho and her father, for their twinkling, innocent eyes, and their ability to suppress their bloodfiend instincts with their desire for tomorrow. Speaking of which, isn't it a bit strange that Dulcinea's eyes are a bit of a different shade of red from the rest? Like, I'm not the only one seeing this, right? They are slightly different. Not sure if that means anything, I just thought to point it out because it has been bothering me for a while and maybe someone has an answer that I don't have. And then there's also... Yeah, I know what you are thinking. Let's get to it already, As everyone has noticed by now, Dulcinea shows a lot less skin than Nicolina does. But she doesn't necessarily have to. The only part of Dulcinea's outfit that shows skin is the chest. And when everything else is covered, it becomes the focal point. Additionally, the contrast of dark colors of her corset and the skirt detailing against her blonde hair draws attention to her waist and hips. And then there's her headpiece and umbrella, which also draw attention to her face. And it notably does not have any bright makeup on it, unlike Nicolina's. Only her natural beauty. Dulcinea is designed to be appealing. She's designed to draw attention to her womanly beauties. She's not a person in the eyes of the people who visit the park. She is the main attraction of the parade. She's an effigy to be stared at, a butterfly to be pinned down in a shadow box, a flower to be torn out of the ground for its pretty colors. Not a person. Never a person. But you would not have thought about that unless I said it. Would you have? You're only here for the parade, after all. So go on. Sing along. And last, the squire. At last, the squire. A girl with a dream crossed on her heart. To be Sancho is to be a refracted mirror of your loved ones. And in her design, pre-La Mancha Land's Fall, which is the one I will be analyzing, she mirrors her father's design quite a bit. For example, she wears a coat, just like he does, but not as a cape. It is her size, her arms and the sleeves, giving her an air of maturity that her father's coat takes away from him, showing her as the voice of reason between the two of them. She also has shoulder pads and little decorative ropes, just like he does, and their shoes are nearly identical. Though all of the gold that Sancho wears is a lot brighter than his, as if polished. Again, maturity, cleanliness. Due to the fact that she does not have a cape or, I don't know, an umbrella and a big skirt to enlarge her silhouette, she instead has the red feather thing that I have been referring to as an armadura this entire time, for I'm fairly certain that is not what it is called. Either way, it is big and it is long, and the way it is positioned in the sprite emphasizes it, making her look a lot bigger and more imposing than she is, sort of compensating for her short stature. It is also bright red, as it is made of hard blood, and it's the only thing of such color aside from Sancho's eyes drawing attention to them. Sounds familiar? Speaking of color, Sancho is a lot brighter than the other members of her family. Her hair is bright yellow, a notable difference from her father's and sister's pale blonde, or the barber's and priest's dark. And most notably, her main clothes color is white. In my mind, it again signals to her maturity. She's confident in her strength and her capability of staying out of unnecessary trouble, and the unstained white clothing shows it. But it is also making her stand out quite a bit amongst her siblings. Almost as if to show that she is not like the other kindreds of her father. As if to truly show that she was the only one who could share his dream. Cassette, you have nothing going on, I don't know what to tell you. His mask is interesting. Since one does mention Nicolina used to prefer cuter, more elaborate masks, so I assume he's an example of such. Him wearing red, having a feather in his hair, so bird imagery, and having dubstep in his boss theme also kind of connects him to Nicolina, so maybe he's from her lineage? Though that kind of puts to question why only in the priest's area he's mentioned and not in hers, so... no clue there. Also, him having a cape and long hair in his boss form may be him trying to replicate father, because the dumbass thinks he can break out of a cycle by creating his own cycle. Stupid boy. Stupid. Can't wait for you to gain a voice in the Murder on the Warp Express, Bokak.